Skiapo back there. I'm going to give you a quick little safety brief just before we get on our way to Molokai today. Just seatbelts on for me, over the chest, leave it on until we come to a complete stop.
This lonely road, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. On that lonely road, on this 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 lonely road,
Let's go. We're on the strongest, our weakest.
on this lonely road,
On this lonely road, I'm taking steps up like a ladder. KKK to COINTEL, now they iron fist. At they glass mansion, we throwing bricks until it shatters. Like black lives never mattered, I'm living evidence. Who's contentious against riches? We earning the pension on the kingdom to come. And we know you of the wicked, cause when we read it, you run. And we know you of the devil, when we're reading, you come. We're following their footsteps. Be quiet when you get checked. Keep driving, then you eject, and you fly till you get there. No matter in the wheelchair.
Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Officer Hezeki, IUIC Hawaii. Officer DL with me, a couple other brothers. We're on the island of Molokai. Molokai is one of the most sparsely populated islands in the chain of islands that is the state of Hawaii. This is like the fifth least populated island out of the 8. But hey, we're searching high and low in the islands. There's a lot of historical context. Hopefully we'll be able to find specifically from this island, due to it not being a part of the main tourist attraction. There's a lot of native Hawaiian families that are here on this island. So hopefully we get a chance to speak to some of them. We actually have been recommended by name to one of the family members. And hopefully we'll be able to sit down with this brother and this man and just gather as much information as possible while doing a diligent search high and low for our people, the remnants of our people, if there's anyone that's been mixed in. And you know our people are mixed in everywhere. So that's what we're here to find, that's what we're looking for. And Lord's will, we'll be able to find a scattered remnant even here on the island of Molokai. All right? So stay tuned. Most High in Christ bless. Lord's will, we'll do good works. All right? With that, I say shalom.
this lonely road, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. On that lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road,
All right, shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Officer Hezeki, we're out here, brothers of IUIC Hawaii. We're in the island of Molokai, all right? Let me tell you, this is not an easy island to get to. You cannot fly from anywhere straight into this island. You have to land on one of the other main islands like Oahu or the Big Island or Maui, and then catch one of those little planes, you know, those little prop planes. Yeah, one of those little ones. So we had to catch one of those coming into this island. You're going across a channel of water where the wind is blowing real crazy. So, you know, imagine what that plane ride was like. All right, for those of you that don't like flying, it's not the flight for you. All right, we were barely holding on. Brothers in there praying to the Lord, let us make it, please, Father, please have mercy. Right. So, but all praise, we made it. Just so you know, this is like small population. I'm talking about less than 10,000 people live on this entire island. It's only 40 miles long, all right, from one end to the other. There's one highway that gets you from coast to coast. Barely saw 50 people yesterday, all right.
What's the plan for today?
So today we are going to the east side of the island, and we're going to a place called Halava valley. All right, it's remote. There's no landline phone service. There's no cell service out there. All right, we're going out there to meet with basically the teacher of all things Hawaiian history, culture, and we're actually going out there to see if we can get some answers. All right, because it's not easy to find people, to sit down with, because it's houses other than the resort areas, just houses and homes. Unless we're going to knock on random people's door, we're going to go to meet with this guy. It's called the Saltario family, and the Saltario family is one of the last Hawaiian families from the original inhabitants of the island of Molokai. So this is like the real indigenous Hawaiian family, and we're going to meet with, Lord's will, we'll be able to meet with one of their family members today and ask questions. What types of questions are we going to be asking? Can you tell us about the Puerto Rican influence in Hawaiian culture, the plantations? Can you tell us about the African American influence in Hawaiian culture? That's what we're going to ask, all right? Because we really want to find out and pull out all the nuts and bolts, all the information that we might not be able to readily find from someone else, because these are supposed to be the experts on all things Hawaiian history. So they should have knowledge of where our people play into everything. So Lord's will, we'll be able to get some answers, some information, and even find out if there's any families still here yet today that are descendants of these Puerto Ricans or these African Americans, so-called African Americans, which we know to be the children of Israel, that influence the Hawaiian culture today and live here today. All right, whether they be mixed in or still maintain their family line, whatever it is. These are the questions that we're going to ask. Hopefully we'll get some answers, and we'll let you know what we come up with. Lord's will be able to film while we're out there as well, and maybe get some of this stuff on camera. All right, so with that, we say shalom, Messiah Christ bless. We're going to hit the road.
On that lonely road, on this 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 lonely road,
Let's go. Running strong as our weakest.
on this lonely road,
On this lonely road, I'm taking steps up like a ladder. KKK to COINTEL, now they iron fists. At they glass mansion, we throwing bricks until it shatters. Like black lives never mattered, I'm living evidence. Who's contentious against riches? We earning the pension on the kingdom to come. And we know you of the wicked, cause when we read it, you run. And we know you of the devil, when we're reading, you come. We're following their footsteps. Be quiet when you get checked. Keep driving, then you E-check, and you fly till you get there. No matter in the wheelchair. Real prophets don't have no excuses. Could still see our forefathers hanging in nooses. I see the intruder, they looking like Judas. They did it to Christ, nothing changed in the future. Before you could teach, you gon' need you a tutor. And it's all about the 12, you gon' need you a ruler.
Yeah. On this lonely road, yeah. On this lonely road, on this lonely road, yeah. On this lonely road, yeah. On this lonely road,
Yeah, very good dog, good with kids. She hates the wild animals though, she chases them down.
Oh, that works out here.
All the scars from bucks. Getting into it with the deer.
Deer around here.
She almost died a couple weeks ago. I had to pack her all the way down from the falls. A buck gored her.
Wow.
Hit her in all her major muscles.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of deer around here, yeah?
Thousands. And at night, just insane.
What are they called again? What kind?
Axis.
Axis, yeah.
Axis.
A-X-I-S?
Yeah.
Axis? Yeah.
Cheetah. The Indians call it cheetah. It's from India. That's where they originate from. But we get 80 to 100,000 on the island.
Wow.
I was a hunting guy for many years.
You still hunt now?
Yeah, I still hunt.
Sometimes?
Well, once in a while. Greg does most of the killing now. I like to do the cultural stuff.
Okay.
The native foods that we do.
Yeah.
With master gatherers as well.
What's that?
We hunt and fish everything you can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still do with the nets or with the angle?
Everything.
The pole.
We
Oh, okay.
catch shrimp in the river at night.
Yeah.
We got native gobies. It's almost like a breed of catfish.
Oh, okay.
Samoan crab at the river, big crabs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a abundant living.
Yeah.
And it's our elders that raised us.
Mm.
You know, so we have breeds, Greg and I. You fit in, but you don't fit in, kind of thing. We outperform the Hawaiians that we grew up with because our elders raised us. We were raised by our parents. So when you lose that line of connection, you lose a lot.
Yeah.
Become part of the YouTube crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody goes for the information. You know, they never go to their elders. They go to the
But that's kind of like why we, you know, we came even to the island because we live on Oahu. But we came here to learn more about the things that you're talking about, rather than just YouTube. Go to the source.
This
you
is
know,
the place,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
And you know, we was talking with Gabriel. We're on the west side.
That's my nephew.
Yeah,
He
he
used
said.
to box with me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I was
Back in
talking
the
with, we
day.
had a good conversation. He was like, you know, you want to know more, because he was giving a little bit of history.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to know more? He's like, go see, he said Philip.
Yeah. You know why they got English names? Because the military was stationed here. You couldn't, well, your native clothes, couldn't speak our native tongue, couldn't name our kids Hawaiian names, and they would put soldiers in the classroom.
Really?
Force you to do,
So
the military did some bad shit down on this side of the island. That's why there's no record of the landing base up here. That's why there's no record of the landing base up here. That's why there's no record of the landing base up here. This is where the bombers were taking off, bombing West Molokai, the two islands here, and eventually Kaho'olawe as well.
Really?
Yeah, they launch from here.
Wow.
Yeah, we have UXOs on the west side of the island. When I hunt, I run into a lot of unexploded ordnance. Yeah,
Really?
they got government fences to keep you out of those parts of the island, but you know, we kind of run all over.
Yeah. So like a lot of that history's just kind of, it's not talked about.
Find it down here. The pictures that we have, you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Some military families made friends with my uncle, and the films, the 8mm films, the black and white photos we have even of a staff sergeant with a military car checking on families.
Right, really?
Walking across the rope bridge,
Wow.
Really tried, the manipulation was heavy by them.
Yeah.
On the people,
So it was illegal, or because I hear different. Sometimes I hear it was frowned upon. Some say it was illegal.
Oh, like here, it was banned.
To practice.
No, we couldn't practice nothing. The 100-year ban was lifted in, I want to say 92 by President Clinton. The official, it was never put on national news, just local news.
Yeah. So how was everything preserved? Like, how were you able to still, you know, these days?
My uncle comes from the lineages that never listened. They wouldn't stop what they was doing. This was their life. Yeah. He ran away from the tsunami that destroyed the valley when he was 6. Pretty much life stopped at that point. A lot of families never came back. The convenience of Western ways of living, colonization of our islands lured them away from our native ways of living. In a sustainable situation, we have a lot of Hawaiians that cannot survive. They just don't know how to gather, they don't know how to farm. Our months were, our days throughout our month were all named after lunar events. So we have 30 different names. All the ones with negative meanings pertain to no planting, no fishing of a certain type, or the opposite, planting of a certain type, fishing of a certain type. We wouldn't overtax our resources.
Yeah.
So when the Polynesians came here, people were here already.
Yeah, he was telling us about the Mu people.
Yeah.
That was the
tribes, the Mu.
Mu?
Yeah, how you know about that?
Talking with Gabriel.
Wow, bro. These are ancient people.
I told you we had a good conversation. That's why
ancient people, man. Yeah. So all the names with Mo'o inside only come from this island. You get the main dragon, or the Mo'o, which is the island itself on the map. Okay. It's actually a lizard resting. And Kamalo Mountain is the next biggest lizard. It's a lizard resting on the top. And if you go up into the spine structure of the island, it's 13 lizards that connect every part of the island.
Is that where the name comes? That's where the name comes from.
Mo, Mu'u, all that comes from the same era. So We have a 650 AD carbon testing on the first fire pit on the beach.
Okay.
And the tempo on the top is 1250 AD.
So what was the
Polynesians came around 1200 AD.
So basically, you're saying 600 years before Polynesians came?
Yeah, we had people here already.
So
they did the rock work. They did all this infrastructure. Polynesians couldn't do that.
So what? I'm just for being able to understand it. What family group would you say the Mu people came from? Because the Polynesians, I thought it was all the same.
We don't know. Greg don't know. Greg worked with the anthropologists. They're still making discoveries. So we get this big gap of time that we got to put all these puzzles together. From 1200 forward, we know. From 1200 back to 650, we don't know. Not everything.
Because you know what they teach, right? They teach. That's why we're here, right? What they teach on Oahu, whether you go to Bishop Museum or what have you, they say it's all the same. They talk about going back to the not the Solomon Islands, the New Caledonia.
Yeah.
And South. What's it called? Marquesas.
Yeah, right below us.
Yeah.
Same flora, fauna too.
Yeah. So that's what they say.
Our language real close too.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's why I was just wondering what you.
We can understand the Maori. We can understand the Tahitian, the Marquesan, and it ends about there. I cannot understand a lot of the Samoan and the Tongan is more complicated.
Our perspective, right? What we're bringing is a history, a culture that is not readily known, especially for so-called African Americans. There's been I don't know if you're aware of that, there's been kind of an awakening of pre-colonization and slavery, whether that be the Native Americans or even the so-called African Americans. And there's been a lot of searching that's been done. There's been a lot of searching that's been being done over the past maybe 2 decades of origins and connections and things of that nature. So a lot of our questions stem from a lot of the religious practices of the ancient Hawaiians, and if there's any connection between the old world, meaning Asia, meaning Africa, is there any connection that you are readily knowing of, or is everything kind of originating from the elders here? Because we learn about
everything's connected, and that's what I teach. I teach cultural similarities and cultural connections. Because no matter where you go in the world, from creation stories to religious beliefs to religious practices, everything is all very similar. Yeah. For instance, just the way I dressed right here, like the monks or the priests, even our native cultural practitioners or religious practitioners, they all wear sashes and robes. So these are all cultural connections that are very similar to many people from around the world. Yeah. This tili fle is our spiritual protection. It's like our salt or our sage. So these are all the different things we have in our culture that is very similar to everybody else's culture, but nobody would know this is our spiritual protection if we never taught them or showed them these things. And that's why our elders are very important. And the problem today is, where do we find these original elders like my dad, who was raised in a different period, versus the people that you get today? And there's only a handful of these people left around. And that is why what I teach people is nana ike kumu. And what nana ike kumu means is go to the source. Don't go to the books. Don't you try to find the original people that come from the original areas. And that's why we do this every day with the visitors, because we're the last original family left in the valley. We've been documented to be in this valley for many, many generations. Actually got a documentary on our family that's on PBS. Yeah. Wow. So he is the last original elder born and raised traditionally in this valley. So he's the one who took the anthropologists around to help them write the book.
Wow.
Yeah, and that is how I know all my ancient traditions and ancient practices, and that is how I know how to break down all this stuff to show the similarities between beliefs and cultures, because now you have somebody who knows the purposes and the meanings of these things, versus the Hawaiians did this and the Hawaiians did that, or the natives did this and the natives did that. Why did we do that? Why was it tied this way? Why was it that way? What was the meanings of the words? You know, and that's what I share with everybody today. You know, so I teach a quick history lesson to the visitors, because our history lesson starts off in a period of pre-king, which most people never hear of. They only hear of King Kamehameha and Hawaii. Yeah. So we started off in a period of pre-king when each island was a sovereign of its own. Many different chiefs, different dialects. We're no different than any other native tribe in the world. Then all of a sudden, from being native people, we became a kingdom. Now there's means of ownership, slavery, and all this other stuff put inside of it. Then from, you know, a kingdom, we became a territory. That's the banding of our culture and language for 100 years. From 1893 to 1993 was the banding of our culture and language. Nobody knew about the banding of our culture and language because of commercialization. tourism, Elvis Presley's Blue Hawaii, Don Hole's Tiny Bubbles, you know,
Yeah.
Waikiki Beach is a man-made beach. So
Mhm.
all of these things were put out to the world to make them think that this is what Hawaii was like, versus showing them what Hawaii was really like. Because of the people who came and colonized our place were business people.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. But now what is the mindset to those people that actually made the business deals? Is there any I won't say resentment, but is there any sense of them being taken advantage of? What do you think about the people, because they actually made the business deals with the colonizers a lot of times, right? Especially Kamehameha, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize, and that's why it says a lot of people complain about culture, traditions, and history, and land being stolen. But if you actually look at our history, King Kamehameha was selling land before we even overthrow.
Right.
People don't realize, and that's why it says a lot of people complain about culture, traditions, and history, and land being stolen. But if you actually look at our history, King Kamehameha was selling land before we even overthrow.
Right.
King Kamehameha was selling land before we even overthrow. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were already influenced from the Westerners in a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can see where our kings were trying to get advanced and to be just as up there with everybody else. But while we were doing that, we're losing our foundation and
Yep.
where we're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, and that is what we're losing.
Yeah. One last question, with regard to the cultural, because a lot of cultures hinge their cultural practices on their religious practices, right? The meanings behind some of these different things was Christianity easy to be accepted because there was any similarities?
Yeah.
Or
All religions have similarities.
Mm.
All religions have similarities. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of knowing, finding the similarities in each religion, because each religion talks about the creator, or there's a being that we're all trying to get to, and we all describe him in a very similar way.
Okay. That's Lono.
That is Lono. In our history, Lono is the great white God. He's like the Jesus Christ of our culture.
Okay. What about the Father? Is there a Father God?
Well, Kukani Lono, Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Kukani.
Lono is the creator.
Okay. And he's the head of.
He's the head.
Kane.
He's so we got Lono, yeah. So Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We call him Kukani Lono.
Okay.
Kukani Lono, and it's in our creation story. We have what we call Kumulipo. So you actually can go look up our creation story.
Okay.
Which is called the Kumulipo, and it starts with our creator and how everything was created, just like the creation story in the Bible.
And one artifact that he's going to be talking about is Ku. He was also known as a war god. He was also referred to as Ku Ke'ilimoku, a very powerful deity in the Hawaiian culture.
Yeah, so here it is.
We're back here at the Bishop Museum. We're talking with Castle High School graduate Marcus Marzan. Thank you for being with us, or thank you for having us.
Oh, mahalo nui for coming.
So let's talk about the idol, what would you call it? Tiki of Ku?
Yeah, so in Hawaii, it's known as a ki'i, a wooden image or any kind of image. And this particular image is in a representation of the deity Ku.
Is there anything else important that you want to mention about the ki'i?
Yeah, so Ku is one of 4 primary gods in the Hawaiian pantheon. Ku, Lono, Kane, and Kanaloa. They made up all of the manifestations of daily life and interactions with people in Hawaiian culture. So definitely having Ku here representing one of the components of cultural perspective and daily life is greatly important to telling the story of Hawaii.
Yeah. You know, the similarities within religions. Here's a similarity between Christian belief and Hawaiian belief. In the Christian story of creation, the world was created in 7 days. Well, I have a temple for creation and agriculture in here, which is the Lono temple. It's 7 layers. So it's a matter of how do you see the connections and similarities in the cultures? You know, because already through stories, creation story 7 days. Our creation temple is 7 layers. How many people would find that connection? In our culture, we have a creation story. Well, in the Western Christian, they got a creation story.
What about 10 Commandments?
Yeah. Well, a little bit different.
Okay.
But there's a lot of stuff similar, but a little bit different. Yeah. So we have, you know, Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
We got our similarities between our creation stories.
Yep.
Yeah. What we use to represent the god Lono. Basically, what we use to represent our deities or our gods is a big T banner with 2 big white pieces of cloth hanging down the side. My dad says, "What's that?" I'll look at what the priest is holding in the church.
Right.
It's all about finding similarities. Missionaries came to convert.
Yeah.
They didn't come to find similarities. So what they didn't know is in our culture we had a tree of life. The kukui nut tree is called our tree of light. We got a ring of light. The kukui nut le is our circle of light, or Hawaiian rosaries. This is a spiritual reminder. Be kind, courteous, loving, friendly to all people at all times. You wear the light. How do you act when you wear the light? The word kukui means light. But how many people actually know that the word kukui means light? So if you're not learning these things or the meanings of these things, how do you find the similarities between other cultures and beliefs if you don't even know it in your own culture? Right. And that's what I try to do. I try to share these parts with the visitors who come who know nothing about these cultures and with my own native people. The problem is, how do you teach your own native people? Because they're some of the hardest people to teach. Sure. Because everybody is raised in some type of cultural aspect that they think that this is how it is, when not knowing that every place was unique and we just found similarities and we all got along. You know? So that's what I do. I teach cultural similarities. So that is what I'm going to do in my lesson today. I'm going to give them the history lesson. I teach them the similarities between cultures and between beliefs. I teach them how our culture became commercialized, and that is why today nobody knew about the banding of our culture and language. So, and that is what I share with the visitors, a whole different set of culture versus what everybody gets in the universities and schools. And hey, I work with the universities and schools. Right. I got elementary schools come to me. I got schools that come to me from the States. University of Hawaii just left. I got BYU who's going to come in very shortly. I'm the research assistant for Dr. Patrick Kirks in the University Anthropology Department. Yeah, I'm research for the stuff in here for the Bishop Museum. I'm the research assistant for the projects in here, and I never even went to school in college. Yeah.
You are the source.
So there's a whole different aspect in culture you learn from your elders versus books. Yeah. So there's home culture and tradition, there's school culture and tradition. Right. There's home history, there is book history. Yeah. You know? So it's a matter of, if you learn the book history or meeting the people who lived through the history today, is how do you find these people who lived through these periods who can give you the actual story? Yeah. So since I found out that my Hawaiian history wasn't correct, how do I know that American history is correct? Right. Now I start to question American history. Did the Boston Tea Party really happen that way? Because I found out Thanksgiving wasn't so thankful for the natives.
There you go, yep.
Was the Constitution really that way? Yep. Did he really tell his dad he chopped down the cherry tree? Because I would have said it was my brother. It's just we're not the ones writing the stories, and you never meet the people who do write the stories, and you never meet the people who's in the stories. So how do you actually get the right story? And since more than half the people on all our islands are not from these islands, more than half the people on all our islands are not from these islands, more than half the people on all our islands are not from these islands, and they come from someplace else, what type of information is being shared to them?
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we came to this island specifically, because we've gone to the other islands, and it's very difficult to get to the source. Because, like you said, it's a mixed plate, right? Everywhere,
yeah,
everywhere.
And the why I'm so easily willing to share is because I was taught from my elders. Yeah, culture is sacred, not secret. You share. If you don't share, it dies with you. So, as a native person, I cannot complain about my culture and traditions not being brought out if I'm not the one sharing it. Because if the natives don't share it, the outsiders know nothing of it. Right. So, who's really banning your culture from growing? Is them banning your culture from growing, or you banning your culture from growing by not sharing with anybody? There's different perspectives or different ways to look at it. Yeah. You know?
Well, Greg, I appreciate your time, definitely. Do you have one final question?
I have one final question. Is there any history prior to the Mu people, correct? The Mu people are distinct from what we know as the
spiritual people from the stars.
Okay. So prior to your arrival on this island, or have you originated here? Is that the thought? Our people originated here?
No, we never originated here. We came here. We never originated here. We came here. We never originated here. We came here. Yeah.
So do you know from where? Is there any?
And that's why we got a creation story. We started with everything else in our creation. Our creation story, Kumulipo, tells how we were created with everything around us. Okay. Not how we were created before anything else. We are part of the creation. It's a matter of understanding where do we fit in that creation story. It's just today nobody's being part of the creation story or understanding the creation story. Everybody is today, man is trying to be the creator. So how do you understand the creation story, where we came from or how we got created if you're trying to create? You know what I mean? Yeah. So today, how can we understand everything in nature if we're breaking it apart to dissect it, to understand it, when if you just sit down and you observe, watch, and see what Mother Nature does, you learn more than Karino Mala. You know? It's different perspectives. Yes. You know? So awesome. No worry, guys.
Thank you again.
Shalom, Israel. We still on the island of Molokai. This is the end of day 2, and we gathered a lot of information. And remember, one of the purposes of coming here is to, of course, gather the 12 tribes, but at the same time to gather information to make the distinguishing, get the distinguishing facts between who Japhet is and if he's an Israelite or not, right? And as we coming through this information, we're finding a lot of factors that we already told y'all about before, proving that they are not Israelites, right? Proving that they are Japhetic, right? And you can go through all our documentation and find that as well, right? Some of the things that we found today is nothing is common in the understanding of those people. What they do is there is a very basic understanding of certain things, and they try to meld certain elements to ease their colonization.
It's all about finding similarities. Missionaries came to convert.
Yeah.
They didn't come to find similarities.
Right. So what they'll do is they'll fuse elements of Christianity with their ancient customs and say it was always like that. When you ask the next person, right, he'd be like, oh, we fuse this portion of Christianity with our ancient customs, and it was always like that. And there's never any common ground between those fusions, right? So when we went to the people, we went to a couple of different people. We went to the Solitario family, and we got information from him. And if you know who he is, he's basically the go-to guy for history on Molokai and regarding the Hawaiian people. The common thing that we found was that Tahitians came here and they introduced polytheism, when prior to that they were all doing monotheism, right? And then they're saying that Hawaiians and the Mu people and King Kamehameha subjugated many other people, but they weren't all the same people, but they were the same people. See the confusion? These are the things that's not common ground in here. And it seems like there's always a monetary gain in the background of all of these discussions.
On this lonely road on this lonely road on this lonely road
On this lonely road, I'm cruising to the finish line. On the scenic route, I seen the devil in disguise. Like the scene of a movie I seen like 7 times. I'm not paying attention until the credits climb. Trying to look will leave you hooked like a bad habit. Have you roaming through the streets in the Greek fashion.
You specifically, or from the Mali people, or
So like recently we did a DNA test. Maybe about 2018. You guys have a set. No problem. Well, like,
I think you might need to film.
If you got a film, bro, no worries. I got you. But did a DNA test back in 2018, and I didn't realize we're actually African.
Yeah.
You gotta wash your hands or something. Hands are dirty.
So, do you
Hold up.
No, I was asking. So, do you with that knowledge, are you able to relay that? Because that's not really taught so much.
Yeah, not at all.
You know what I mean? So
I feel
that's why I'm asking. Is it your family or is that the Hawaiian people? Which one?
So my family actually, because when you talk about the Hawaiian people, which Hawaiian people? Because there's two, right? So that's also not taught. So there's actually people who came here before Hawaiian people came here. That's not taught. And these people had no sense of war. Like they didn't have any kind of, where's your cool, baby? Where's your cool? What happened to your cool? Where'd you go?
Outside.
Did I show these guys the cool? Where did it go? Is it inside?
Yeah.
So Hawaiians before, they didn't believe in that because, they lived a peaceful life, farming, and the lifestyle was very together. When it came to laws, there was no Hawaiians believed in human sacrifice and stuff. There was no human sacrifice. There was no no one gets put to death if you steal something, then you are shunned. You know what I mean? You don't.
No one would people would just wouldn't
yeah.
You
You just wouldn't be. You'd be excommunicado. You know what I mean? And what happens is the Tahitians came, but what was funny is that Tahitian from Tahiti, right? Tahiti, kahiki means the land far away. So basically they named Tahiti, but what in actuality means a land far away. It doesn't say where the land was, or where, you know what I mean? Like, but it just meant a land far away. So when the Tahitians came and they looked upon these people who came at first, they were looking down at them because these people were of smaller stature. The Tahitians came with a war god. They were all dressed in red. You know, the seas looked like it was covered in blood because of, you know, the red sails just lining the horizon. You know what I mean? Coming from Kauai's side. So what we had to deal with was them bringing, you know, all this knowledge of war, and we have no idea what's going on, and then boom, we became slaves. You know what I mean? Then we became their slaves.
So the Tahitians.
So we were called Manahune, which today we call Menehune, people of small power. And it wasn't basically not just our stature, but just because we had little knowledge of what was, you know, to like shed blood amongst our brother. You know what I mean? Now like we never had a concept of that. Yeah. Well, when Tahitians came, you know, they brought their war god with them. And, you know, they basically made us slaves, and they called us Menehune, people of smaller power. That's why you look on the water bottle, small little guy running.
Yeah.
But it's not really the physical. It was more of their idea of how we were as people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we were forced up into the caves, you know, where we would dwell in hiding, and we would come out at night, down, and we would do all the work for them at nighttime while they slept. They woke up, work was done. And that's why after a while, these Tahitians were looking at these Kanaka people, like these Kananga people, and they're like, whoa, like how did they finish this so fast? And then they must have people helping them. They hear beating drums at nighttime. Night marchers, like that's where the original ghost story came from. Wasn't during our time, generations back. And you know, like after a while, like we just had to deal until, like, you know, obviously Westerners came, or like people from the West came.
Yeah.
You have a question?
Well, yeah, like before all that, right? Before, because when the Westerners came, that kind of changed. But how do you like see? So we've heard the Tahitians, right? But how do you see the other Polynesians as a whole? Like you got Samoa, you got Tonga, you got Marquesas, you got all the islands, right? Yeah. Micronesia, Polynesia, Melanesia, right? The Maori of New Zealand.
Yep.
Do you guys recognize them all as one big family group and different tribes?
Okay, so how did we all know each other before we all, you talk about the Tower of Babel, we all split. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so how did the Mali people know about, you know, like all these star formations before we even had the telescope? You know what I mean? And using a power, and I'm saying like we worked more together than we were apart. Does that make any sense? So it wasn't like the culture itself wasn't so important. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have to think about, oh, you dress like this, I dress like that. My chant is this, but your chant is you dance like this, I dance like that. You know what I mean? It was more like, shit, we all vibe. You know what I mean? The vibration was very, very high. You know, to the point where the connection was across the way you didn't even have to move. You know what I'm saying? You could already aerial view myself right there. I mean, people do that already, but I'm saying that this used to be normal. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that, oh, it was a secret. You was special. You gotta know how to do this, how to do that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like overall, people back then were more aware.
So, like when you start talking about like the pyramids and, you know, different cultures and things like that, is there anything that comes to your mind as far as like cultural traditions that you learned growing up, maybe from your grandmother, whoever, like that taught you as far as like when you mention the pyramids, that kind of goes into like biblical times, Egypt, things like that, right? So you know how like let's say in the Bible sense, right? And I'm talking pre-colonial. I'm not talking about when the white man came. I'm not talking about that. But there was still a standard of living and morality that was, you know, documented, right? Now I know that documentation is something that wasn't the same with the Hawaiian peoples because more oral, right? but what was the tradition that you were taught, like how to deal? You know, like there's no other gods, and you know, honor your parents, and no killing, no stealing. Was there anything like that that you had that was concrete that you kind of can say, okay, I was taught these basic things as far as life and how to deal with my brother and things like that? Is there anything like that you?
I feel like Hawaiians were so intimate, but like when like the missionaries came here, you know what I mean? Like I mean, most of us, we turn Christian. My dad is a pastor of a non-denominational church.
Okay.
So
here on this island?
Here on this island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, you know, growing up, that was my, you know, that was my basis, like, my solid foundation from on the Bible. But going to school and learning about history and learning about other cultures and religions and philosophy.
Oh, sorry. Stupid phone.
No. And learning about all those other things, you know, it really taught me that, like, yes, there's the Bible, but like there's other information out there still. You know what I mean? Like, if God is real and He made this world, He didn't just made this one book. He made this other person to write this book, and this other person to write this book, and then you put it all together. You know what I'm saying? Like you basically, you know, like your instincts are, you know, something that we don't really lean upon like that heavily on nowadays, because our generation is, you know, almost all on social media and all on the, you know what I mean? Right. So our instinct is not gonna, we're not trusting our initial instinct. Our instincts, when we wake up, look at the phone, and then we scroll, and then that's our instinct. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna go after, oh, I see this guy get that car, oh, this guy get this chain, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, like it's just go on and on and on. Yeah.
All right, Israel. So again, we're here on Molokai today. We got an opportunity to do a lot of digging. A big part of this whole thing is to clarify some of the misinformation and the false doctrines that are out there. That's one of the main things that we're here to do, is to uncover a lot of things. And as you previously heard, we actually got to meet with the undisputed, or the indisputed, whatever the word is, fact finder when it comes to things Hawaiian culture. And it's very important to understand and really emphasize those things that you heard earlier about the differences in how things are put together. There's a similar framework, but even amongst the people here, I'm talking about the local people here, born and raised, born and bred, their understanding of how they came to be culturally, it skews a little bit. It skews here and it skews there. One thing for sure, the Tahitians is who a lot of the blame goes to. But at the same time, they also recognize that they're all people of Polynesia. So, you know, now you're talking about infighting between warring factions and tribes. That happened even in Israel, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. So that's nothing new. All right, that does not now bring you into the fold of being an Israelite. Another thing that we learned is they said that they were monotheistic prior to the Tahitians. They were monotheistic prior to the Polynesians. But the interesting fact is that there was no real depth into that monotheistic life, into that monotheistic culture, into that monotheistic ideology. There was nothing of it that remained other than that statement, we were monotheistic. All right, so no laws. All right, now we asked specific questions about laws to everyone that was speaking about the culture and the religious aspect. No one contained any laws that they could provide to us. You know how most people know about the 10 Commandments given to the children of Israel? Well, there was no laws given to the people of Hawaii in their religious understanding. It's more just a feeling thing. And that's what we heard a lot from a lot of people. It's a feeling, right? That's not really rooted in much more than folklore. A lot of people say oral tradition, but remember, oral tradition easily transitions into folklore that is passed down. So now, after generations, the true origin of things is skewed, it's changed, it's manipulated, because as was said previously, there's always a monetary gain at the end of that. And we're also going to go into that. One of the main important things that we learned from the Salterio family was this idea that the land was stolen and they were oppressed by their land and things like that. That's not quite the fact, because even he acknowledged that King Kamehameha I was selling the land.
People don't realize, and that's why it says a lot of people complain about culture, traditions, and history and land being stolen. But if you actually look at our history, King Kamehameha was selling land before we even overthrow.
Right. Selling the land, and as we say here, that's just not buyer's remorse, but the reverse of that. Seller's remorse. All right. They sold the land, made their money. Now, generations later, as property values has gone up and business and the economy has begun to boom, now the descendants of those people that sold the land are saying, wait a minute, this is our ancestral homelands. We still deserve some of that. You don't get to double dip, but that's what one of the biggest problems is. And that's what we see, and that's what we're discovering the more we travel throughout the islands. It's a skewed history, and a lot of it is seller's remorse, because they in fact did deal with the white man, and now it bit them in the ass. That's all there is to it. All right. So again, we got one more day of this thing. Lord's will be able to bring more information to you. All right. Shalom, Israel. It's the last day of our trip, right, to Molokai, right? And what we did here, we came, we met a couple black folks, right? And when I mean a couple, the amount of black people that's here is so small that we're the same amount. So if we go, whenever we go to these places, we find them, and it's very difficult for us to pull them apart, pull them away from the heathens that they're among. We met one sister in particular, and her story is the same as everybody else's story on the other islands that we've been through, right? They came here, they had difficulty, but they love it. They came here, their children were bullied in the school, but they love it, and now we're all brothers and sisters, right? Another thing that we deal with is digging through the culture and the religious aspects and the rites and rituals of the local people to see, do they fit the curses? Do they fit what the Bible says? And every time, without fail, that is a distinct no. They don't follow no laws, they don't follow no commandments, and they have no desire to do so. And what they do is they have a very powerful influence on our people that are here, because they have rights to the land, because they have power and influence, right? So all of the same things that our people deal with on the other islands is what they're dealing with here. But here it's more prevalent because we're so few in numbers that we almost don't exist. So that's been the experience here. And Lord's will, we have some good information to provide for you guys, so you guys can decide for yourself, and you can look into the Bible and be like, that matches or that doesn't match.
Yeah. On this lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road, on this lonely road,
On this lonely road, I'm cruising to the finish line. On the scenic route, I seen the devil in disguise. Like the scene of a movie I seen like 7 times. I'm not paying attention until the credits climb. Trying to look will leave you hooked like a bad habit. Have you roaming through the streets in the Greek fashion. Putting Caesar to your lips like a damn salad. End up tossing man to man, guess you play Madden. I seen servants riding horses like they playing polo. They gon' be a distant memory, take a photo. Babylon is just a snippet like a movie promo. Edom gonna disappear, call him Frodo. Blood on the streets flows to your feet like tile. Foes getting beat, how can it be like wow? Only took 60 minutes to beat these lowlifes. Now I gotta keep moving while on this lonely road.
You guys should just back on in and say hello and get off the road.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if that's okay with you.
Nobody, what we're gonna do right now.
Pull right here?
Yeah, her.
Okay.
Absolutely, my friend.
So what about you out here with you?
My husband was a Navy chief. He passed away.
Oh, okay.
Raising my kids on Oahu was just like, nope. And my sister, my younger sister,
do you mind
lived
if
here.
I film?
Go ahead.
Okay.
My sister was living here already. And I'd been to Molokai before, and it's like the safest place in the world.
Yeah, we've noticed
to raise children. It's amazing.
So you had a sister that lived here first? Okay. Is she still here too, or
yep.
She's still here too?
Yeah, the second one. You gotta go see her. You gotta go see her next.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So So you were Navy brought you to Hawaii or brought you here specifically?
I moved to Oahu from upstate New York in 1984.
Okay.
Got married to my husband in 1987.
Okay.
So he passed away in 90.
But here though, in
Yes,
Hawaii.
here. Yeah.
And
So I've been here forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously you love it, right?
I love it here on Molokai.
So what? Okay, now
he's just like.
Now I'm gonna be. It's gonna kind of seem like I'm prying a little bit, but I'm just curious.
Okay.
You know what I mean? What's it like not being able to see anyone that looks like you for the most part for so long?
I saw your car full of color, I was like, I hope they stop by my house because I don't see.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be pre-COVID. I would see black folks in town, and I would just be like, hug me.
Yeah.
Come up to my house, hang out.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Wow. So is it more the draw of the safety and that sort of thing, the pace of life that kept you here? Like,
Yes.
what made you not go back to the mainland or
Mm-mm.
even Oahu?
No. Being a single parent with two very young children, I tried to live with my mom and dad in Vegas for a while. Just too many people. I was too new to widowhood. I couldn't handle. It seemed like every person was a threat to me. So when I came here, I was like, no, this is perfect. This is perfect. There's nobody here, nobody to bother me, no danger for my kids.
Right.
You know, I had my sister. Our family comes over all the time. I have another daughter. She lives in the mainland. She's coming next month. My sister has a huge family. And so we always get together, you know?
Yeah.
But Molokai is just perfect. It's beautiful. You can't do better than this place.
So how do like, let's say for your daughter, right? I'm assuming she grew up here.
Yes.
Okay.
Since I was 3.
Sorry?
Preschool here.
It's started preschool.
Yeah, I was 3 years.
So, like, how is it for you and her learning about you and your people and things like that, or is it all? I think that would be very difficult because there's no one around.
Mm-mm.
No, it's not.
My kids, you know, had some problems, you know, in elementary school, kids saying naughty things, whatever kind of things.
Yeah.
And maybe because they were here for so long that it seemed like they was local and touche.
That's not.
My kids, you know, had some problems, you know, in elementary school, kids saying naughty things, whatever kind of things.
Yeah.
And maybe because they were here for so long that it seemed like they was local and touche.
Yeah.
You know, like no really big racial problems here on Molokai. Because most of the locals here save that for white folks.
Yeah.
So we're not really targeted here or meant to feel different here. I mean, it happens with everybody when they're little kids. Doesn't matter what color you are, it's going to happen.
Yeah, my kids deal with it on Oahu.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. But it's less here, and since the population is less, you know everybody.
Right.
And if they're going to talk about my kid, I'm going to go talk to your parents.
Right.
You know, and then everybody best friends with me.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, like, part of what we came here for is to kind of just do research, right? And that's what that flyer goes into. As you see, our shirt says "Is United in Christ." We are a biblical history and biblical organization, right? And so what we do is, especially being on Oahu, we do a lot of research into the not transfer, but a lot of the migration of the Puerto Ricans and the African Americans, because there were actually black people that worked in the sugarcane fields too. And Puerto Ricans worked in the sugarcane fields too. And so, but for my children, that's not a history that they'll ever be taught in school. So I had to dig. So that's why I asked that question, you know, especially being here on Molokai. You know, a lot of that history is it's swept under the rug and it's forgotten. You know what I mean? So you'll hear Portuguese, Chinese, Korean, Filipino, Japanese, but then they never include the Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
All right. So these are some of the things that we've kind of just found throughout our years. I've been in Hawaii for 20 years myself. On Oahu, so I've been here. So I just understand that these things are left out.
Yeah.
So part of what we do is we find out who they are, where our people are scattered in, because once a lot of people have mingled in, you kind of assimilate, right? And that's kind of what you're saying. Everybody's best friends in the end. You assimilate, and you kind of lose the racial identity along the way, right?
Okay.
So a lot of what we do is just trying to identify these different things, but then also kind of give a little bit of restoration to that, because there's a significance biblically to the people that come from Puerto Rican ancestry and so-called African Americans. Those that went through traumatic things in life, there's actually prophetic things that were written. She's right there.
Oh.
She's right there. So that's what we primarily do. Like that flyer that's in your hand. Can I just show you?
Yes, because I don't have my old lady eyes on, so I can't
No worries,
read it.
no worries. So you know about the history, Black history, right?
Yes,
As far as
I'm a Black history major.
Okay.
There we go.
28. Let's get 28:15. Okay. All right. So we're gonna read. You familiar with the Bible? Do you know?
Yes. Go ahead.
Books of Moses. Go ahead. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15.
Come on.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So we're reading the books of Moses, the curses. After he went up on the mountain, came down, he gave the laws. He said, you obey your God. Because remember, they heard the voice of God. And they said, we don't want to hear that. That's when they heard the 10 Commandments. And they said, Moses, you go talk to God, tell us what he said. So he came back down, he gave them all the laws. And he said, God says, look, if you do what I tell you to do, I'm going to set you up high. Great nation. If you don't do what I said, I'm going to curse you and bad things are going to happen to you as a people. All right? So from 15 to 68 to the rest of the chapter, it outlines specifically some things that have happened that we can both relate to historically. Right? Watch this. Read verse 48.
Verse 48.
Let's start with verse 32 first. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's too long. Right?
Yes, and we got rubbish to go.
Yeah, no problem.
But
no
we
problem.
love you guys.
We'll make it real fast. Go ahead.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
So when did that happen historically? When our sons and daughters was given to another people? That's what we know as Black history. But we also know that as generational slavery.
Yes.
No other nation can claim that. Even the oppression and the things that are claimed in local society as far as Hawaiians being colonized, that's different than your sons and your daughters generationally being bought and sold by other people, right?
I have that argument with a lot of my Hawaiian friends.
So now you know that that's actually outlined in the Bible, and it's going to explain
chicken skin.
Watch this, read.
Thine and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
So we never had a physical might or a political might or military to go get our people back.
Yeah.
But because why? This is a curse from God. Watch this, read. Read verse 48. Watch
verse
this.
48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger.
So for food, you got to remember, like, we're scattered all over. Whether it be in Hawaii, whether it be in California, Nevada, New York, Brazil, right? We were scattered all over. And it says you're going to have to go to another people for your food source, which we do, right? Watch this, read.
And in thirst.
And in thirst, our water source. Watch this.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness, our clothing sources, read.
And in want of all things.
Our learning, whether you want to go to school and get educated. You said you're a Black history major, which means you have to go to an institution of higher learning.
Yeah, I had to go to a white school.
There you
Black
go.
Americans.
All of us.
We all
right?
did.
You have
Permits,
to get
electricity.
Yeah, all that stuff, right? All that stuff. Watch this, read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
Now read verse 47.
Because thou servest.
Verse 46, excuse me.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So the reason I'm reading these curses is because God said in the Bible that these things that are happening to us, whether it be the yokes of iron, whether it be having to go to your enemies and want of all things, whether it be your children being bought and sold, I want you to see those things and recognize in history that they're actually signs to a specific group of people. Read.
Verse 47.
No, now read 68.
Verse 68.
Oh.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Now, if you know the Bible, which you say you do, the Hebrews were the ones who built up the Egyptian society. That's why we know Egypt. Are you understanding what we're bringing and recognize that to be history? So that makes this thing true that we're reading, right? At least so far, it's been true. Keep reading.
And the Lord shall bring thee.
So let me ask you before we read it then. Who are we?
Who are we?
Yeah, as a people. You said you believe these things, right? And it's going to be a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. No, all right, no problem. Go ahead.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Came into slavery by way of slave ship. That only happened to us. Yes. No other people, right? So the Bible is uniquely identifying a family of people.
Who is?
So who is the Bible about?
Us.
So who are we? Deuteronomy. Okay, no, don't. Read it right here. Read it right here.
I feel like I'm on the spot.
No, you're good. You're following so far. Yeah, finish it.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
Never see our homelands again. We're all still scattered all over. Watch this.
And there,
when you get off those slave ships,
ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
When you get off the slave ships, what happened? We were auctioned off, right? Now go back to Deuteronomy 1:1. I want to just give you that context so you have the answer to what I'm saying. Read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Who was Moses talking to?
Us.
But what did the Bible call them?
To all of Israel.
So who are we?
Israel.
We're the children
Of Israel.
That's who we are.
That took me a minute.
But that's okay. No problem. Because we've not been taught that before.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? So that's part of what we do as we're scattered throughout all the islands. We see our sister, we're like, yo, we want to make sure we want to make sure that she know who she is, especially out here not seeing. We've been here. You're the first one we've seen, right? So does she know who she is amongst all these other nations? Do you know how special you are to God? Right? And it's a very different thing because all nations have their own gods.
Yes.
Who's your God? The Bible says your God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator of all things. And when you recognize that and can return back to it, not in a Christian format that we've been taught by the white man. That's not what we're talking about because they say Jesus is white, God is white, the Israelites are white. We just read that this history relates to people who look like you and me. So that means that they lied to us.
Hey, Shalom Israel. So this is day number 3. We just finished up. We got a chance to basically go to all the different sides of the island, look high and low, searching far and wide, and we found a total of 4 black people maybe that was supposed to be on this island. We actually came into contact with one of those sisters today. All right, it was I'm gonna say an emotional experience for her. All right, just to see her brothers, people that look like her. She said that we were actually one of 4 black people that she's seen since she's been here. I believe she said something about that, like 4. So for her to see people that look like her, it doesn't happen here, right? So she was very excited. She was very, very excited, and all praise to the Most High. What you gotta recognize is that it's like any small country town. It's easy to miss people here if you don't know people. Well, we're not from here, so we don't know people. But throughout this entire trip, the Most High has made things happen just right for us to be able to run into the very people that we needed to be able to put all this together, get the information we needed, and even give the sister a pardon. But we got a chance to speak with the sister herself and bring out the truth to her, who we are, and repentance. So all praise to the Most High for that. Like you previously heard, it's all about assimilation here. All right, it's all about basically disassociating yourself with your roots, who you are, and adopting this world culture of we are humans and we are all free together. All right, all brown people are one, and that's not really the case when you look into the detail. That they say, that saying, the devil is in the details. When you begin to peel back the layers of the onion, you find out that our people fall to the very bottom of the brown societies that they live in, no matter what. They can't find homes in this island and that island, and they finally come to an island where they're left to themselves and like, okay, I'll live here. And literally, you're left to yourself out here. You got to be very self-sustaining. One last final thought: just always remember, there's a reason why they allow our sisters to live with them and our sisters to move into their communities. Because a nation doesn't begin with the woman; it begins with the man. So you don't see any black men here. You only see black women here. And they've married into the various heathen nations. And that's one thing that all the other nations know. They don't have any black families where a black man is here living in amongst and dwelling and thriving anymore. They make sure that it's only the woman. Everybody else, your aloha is you coming, spending your money, and going home. That's what your aloha is. All right, so understand there is a very distinct difference.
And these are the things that you're not going to learn or hear when you come to visit the island, because you're still in that touristy mode. You're still under the mystique of the Hawaiian culture, and that's what they sell. But when you live here, you see what's happening, and the Most High is able to remove the veil, and you know who you are, and you see the other nations for what they are, which is heathen nations, right? Even though we live amongst them, you begin to see things for what they are, the reality, and not really what we want them to be. So, again, Lord's will, we'll be able to put some things together for you that you can see for yourselves the things that we witnessed. And once again, this is another island that the men of IUIC Hawaii have had a chance to go to, bring the truth out to. All right, all praise to the Most High for that thing. We're going to keep pushing this truth into the four corners of the earth. No matter where our people are, the Lord says it's got to spread. And that's what we're going to do. All praise to the Most High and Jesus Christ. With that, I say shalom.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.